Shoulder down to your waistline. And in today's lesson, we are going to make use of the following items. I have my measurement parameters here. As you can see, I have my tape to take my measurements, my ruler, my body form ruler. I have my markers, French curve, eraser, pencil, paper scissors, and a masking tape to tape your pattern paper in place. And again, you need a fresh pattern paper, as you can see. Please, if you are new to this channel, welcome to this channel. Subscribe, like, share to family and friends. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell to receive more videos like this each week. So to begin this lesson, we are going to create our borderline. So lovelies, I'm done creating my border lines, as you can see. And if you look at these lines, you can see it's in a form of a box. So now I'm going to label these lines. I have this as my shoulder. This is my shoulder line. This is my center back line. So the very first thing you are going to do is to create your borderline, as you can see. And if you look at this, it looks like a box, okay, like a square. This is my shoulder line. From here, I'll be taking all my vertical measurements. This is my center back line and my center front line. Okay, so if I divide my body into two, for example, I'm working on half of my bodies here, the back and the front. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to find out how we got the length of this box, the length and width of this box. I will want to show you from the shoulder line to the waistline. This is 18 inches, and this 18 inches is reflected on my measurement parameter, my front length. I have 18 inches. And if you look at the back length is 16 inches. That is to say, the front length is longer than the back length by 2 inches. So I'm taking the longer length, that is the measurement from the shoulder to the waist, which is 18 inches. Now coming over to the width of this box, if you look at the width of this box, I have 20 inches. How did I get the 20 inches? We'll come back to our measurement parameter. If you look at these measurements, you see that we have the highest measurement here. We have 39 as the highest figure we have here, which is our bust circumference. Taking our tape around our bust at the apex point, we have 39 inches. So we are going to work with this 39 inches. We are dividing our body into two, like I earlier said, which is 39 divided by 2, and I'm left with 19.5 inches. So this is the parameter I'm going to work with. But then I'm going to add 0.5 of an inch, that is a quarter of an inch for the front and a quarter for the back. So I am going to add 19.5. I'm going to add 0.5 inches to it, and I'll be left with 20 inches to work with. So you can see how the width of this box is determined. So if the highest number you have here is your waist, please, the width of your box has to be the waist if your waist is higher than your bust. But in this case, the bust is higher than the waist. That is why we are working with the highest number. I hope you understood that. Step 2 is to divide the width of this box into 2. We have 20 inches and we are dividing 20 by 2, and I'm left with 10 inches. So I'm going to mark the midpoint of this, the width of this box. This is 10 inches. I'll go over here to get a straight line. I'll also mark 10 inches. Then I'm going to connect these 2 points. Now, having divided this box into 2, I have my back bodice and I have my front bodice. So I'll be starting this drafting with my back bodice. So on the shoulder line, I'm going to place the measurement of my shoulder, taking from one point of the bone to the other point of the bone. Then I'm dividing it into 2 because I'm working on the back and the front bodies. So this 15 divided by 2, I'm left with 15 divided by 2. I have 7.5 inches to work with. So I'll be placing my tape at the point of the center back on the shoulder line, and I'll mark 7.5 inches. At that same point of 7.5 inches, at that same point of the back, center back, I'll be placing my neckline for the back, and I'm using a neckline width of 3 inches and 1 inch for the neck depth, which is standard for a basic bodice. So I'll be marking 3 inches here, and I'll take 1 inch. Please take note, I'm taking these measurements from the point of the shoulder line connected to the center back. So with my body form ruler, I'm going to connect this line. Okay, you can see how I placed my ruler to connect my back neck. You can also make use of your French curve. In case you don't have a body form ruler, you can use your French curve. You can get this at the bookshop. You go to any bookshop, you can see it's also the same thing with the body form ruler. So now I'm going to place my tape right at the point of this 7.5 inches to drop my shoulder slope for the back. And for the back shoulder slope, I'm making use of 1 inch. I'm dropping my shoulder by 1 inch, which is standard. And I'm going to connect this 1 inch, because this 1 inch for the back works for almost every adult. Some people can also take the measurements, but almost everybody goes with 1 inch for the back slope. So you can see how I connected my line now. So the next thing we are going to determine is our chest line. How do you get your chest line? Your chest line is determined by the measurement of your armhole depth. Okay, my armhole depth measurement, I'll be getting my armhole depth measurement using 2 methods. The first method is to take your round armhole measurement, okay, divided by 2, and you place your tape on the point of the shoulder line, the shoulder drop, and you take whatever thing you get for your armhole depth, your armhole measurement divided by 2. But in most cases, I love making use of the bust calculation. You can see I have a bust of 39 inches. I'll be dividing it by 6 plus 1.5. This is very perfect to achieve your armhole depth, and I'll be left with 8 inches. So my armhole depth is 8 inches in this case. And if you still measure your round armhole divided by 2, you will also come to 8 inches. So I'll be placing my tape on the drop, my shoulder drop, and I'll be marking 8 inches. Now I'm going to, if you add 1 inch to this 8 inches from the point of the shoulder line, you can see I have 9 inches. So to get a straight line, I'll place on the shoulder line on this other point, and I'll mark 9 inches. And then I'm going to square my line. Now you can see I already have my chest line. Now I want to determine I'm going to create my armhole depth right now. So remember I have 7.5 inches here, okay, which is my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'm going to bring it down to the chest line. Okay, I'm bringing down 7.5 inches on the chest line, so as to get a straight line that will help me connect my armhole measurement. So now I'm going to find the midpoint of this line. You remember that I have an armhole depth of 8 inches. I'm going to divide it by 2. I'm left with 4. So at this point of this midpoint, that is going to serve as the point where we are going to take our cross back and our cross front measurements. As you can see on the measurement parameter, you have your cross back and a cross front. So now at the point of this measurement, my across front, I'm working on the back anyway, so I'm going to make use of across back measurement. I have 14 inches as my across back measurement. I'm going to divide it by 2, just as I did for the shoulder, and 14 divided by 2 is 7 inches. So I'm going to place my tape on the point, on this point of the midpoint, and I'm going to take my measurement of 7 inches. So from the center point, I'll be marking 7 inches. So at this point of 7 inches, I'm going to connect my line. I'm connecting from the point of the shoulder slope with my straight ruler, you can see, and then with my body form ruler of my French curve, I'm going to connect to my bust, side bust. Remember that the half of this box divides the front and the back bust. So I'm going to place my points. Look at how I'm placing my body form ruler. From this point, I'm going to connect to this point. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. Hope you are seeing it clearly. So this is my armhole for the back. Now, having created the armhole depth here, the very next thing we are going to do is to take the accurate back length measurement. Remember that we have our waist length, front length as 18, and that is what we use to create this box. But because we are working on the back bodies right now, we are going to place the back length measurement, which is 16 inches. So I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder line. As you can see me doing right now, I'm going to mark 16 inches. That is the measurement of your back length. I'll also come over here and I'll mark 16 inches to get a straight line. Then with my ruler, I'm going to connect these two lines to have a straight line. I want to mention to you that you need to tape your pattern paper in place to avoid moving, back and front. So now I want to place my waist dart, and to get my waist dart, I'm going to make use of my bust span. This bust span measurement is the measurement you take from one nipple to the other, and I have 7 inches for this drafting. And this 7 inches, I'm going to divide it into 2 because I'm working on half of the back bodies. So I'm going to place 3.5 starting from the chest line. I'll be placing 3.5 and I'll come down. I'll place on the waistline for the back 3.5, and I'm going to connect this 3.5, as you can see, all the way from the chest line to the waistline. This is the waistline for the back, waist back, okay, the waist for the back. Now we are going to impute our dart intake, and for the dart intake for this back piece, we are making use of 1 inch, which is very much okay for the back because there's no bust at the back. so you can use 0.5. The back is flat, so we are using 1 inch divided by 2, that is 0.5 inch, 0.5 inch this way. Now you might decide to connect this 0.5 directly to the chest line, but for this drafting I'm going to come down by half an inch. I will not like to connect to the chest line because of the armhole, so I come down by half an inch and I connect to the 0.5. I come back, I connect. You can see I have my dart here now. Well, so you can see I already have my waist dart inserted on this pattern. So I'm going to take the measurement of my waist. Okay, I have a waist measurement of 35 inches. I'm working with 35, and this 35 inches I'm dividing it by 4 because I'm working on a quarter of my body, and I'll be left with 8.75 or 8.75. So I'll be placing my tape on the center back, and I'm going to make a mark of 8.75 or 8.75. This is 8 inches. After a quarter is 0.25, another quarter half inch, another quarter is 8.75, and another quarter is 9. So I'm going to go over to 8.75 and make my mark. Okay, so at this point of 8.75 that I made my mark, I'm also going to replace this dart. I have 1 inch dart here. I'll be replacing the 1 inch dart here too, as you can see. So at this 1 inch I'm going to connect to the bust point. I hope you are seeing what I'm doing. So lovely, as you can see, I'm done with my back bodice pattern sloper right now. It's not yet a pattern, okay, because I've not added my seam allowances. So if you follow step by step, you will get an accurate back bodice pattern. Now we are going over to our front pattern, and on this front pattern I want to create my chest line. Remember, the chest line runs from the back to the front, so I will simply extend the line of this chest line to the front line. So lovelies, I'm going to insert my shoulder measurement again, 15 inches divided by 2. Just as I did here, I was left with 7.5 inches, and I'll also place my tape at the center front right now. I'm making a mark of 7.5 inches. Then I'm making use of a neck width of 3 inches, and at this line you place your neck depth. That is the depth of your neckline. In today's lesson I'm going to make use of the standard measurements, okay, because we are creating the basic bodies. But when you want to make use of this pattern for your different styles, you can do whatever thing you want to do on the neckline, okay. So on this case I'm going to make a box. I'm going to create a box to enable me get my actual curve for my neckline. So I'll be placing 3 inches here to get a straight line, and I'm going to square my, you can see that I have a box here, and at this point of the box I'm going to go up by 1 inch to enable me place my pattern master or French curve to get an accurate curve. So watch as I'm placing. You can see how my pattern master passed through this line to this 1 inch and then to the point. You can see you have a lovely curve here. Now coming over to the shoulder drop or shoulder slope for the front. Remember, I took the shoulder drop of 1 inch here, but in this case for the front, for a better fit, I'm using 1.5 inches because the shoulder at the back and the front is not the same. So I'll be connecting from this point, and I'm going to drop my shoulder by 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect all the way from there to that point. Now I'm going to also extend this line. Okay, I'm extending this line, which is the midpoint of my armhole depth. So I will be placing my tape on the shoulder line at this point, and I have 5 inches. You can see it, I have 5 inches here. I will also do the same here to get a straight line, 5 inches. So I'll be connecting these 2 lines together. Okay, so this is the time for us to place our across front. Because we are working on the front, we are going to make use of across front measurement of 13.5 inches. And this 13.5 inches, if you divide it by 2, I'll be left with 6.75 inches, or 6 3/4. So I'll place my tape on the center line. You see the line I'm following. I'll make sure that I have my tape on this line. You can see it now. And I'm going to mark 6.75. This is a quarter, another quarter half, another one, and another makes it 7. So this is 6.75, or 6 3/4. So at this point of 6 3/4, before this 6 3/4, I'm going to take the measurement of my shoulder, which is 7.5. I will place it back on the chest line to get a straight line, just as we did here. Okay, so I'm going to connect this line. All right, and at this point of this midpoint, I'll also make a little mark. So you can see my across back measurement is 6 3/4 here. So I'm going to connect from this point to that 6 3/4, and with my pattern master or my French curve, I'm going to connect this line to this line, just as I did at the back. Sometimes you notice that some people's across back measurements might go too in. Okay, what do I mean by that? Like in my case, I have a cross back measurement of 14 inches. Some people might be having an across back measurement of 13 inches, while they have a shoulder length of 15. And 13 divided by 2, you are left by 6.5. So for example, at the back, when you place your tape at the center back, you notice that 6.5. Look at where I have my 6.5. So at this point of 6.5, for example, let me make a little dot. Now you notice that I have 1 inch hole difference. Okay, this is not too good. It's either that the measurement is not taken properly, because the standard measurement for a good fit is for the back 0.5, or for the front 0.75. So to avoid mistakes, maybe taking inaccurate measurement, you might decide to go in by 0.75 for the front, which is perfect, and 0.5 for the back. But if you can take your measurements accurately, that would be very wonderful. So now, having created my armhole, okay, you can see this is my arm side, running all the way from the back to the front. Now I'm going to place my bust, my dart for the front, my waist dart for the front. Okay, so for the waist dart for the front, I'm going to first of all take my vertical measurement for the bust point. And you can see I have my bust point measurement here, bust point as 10.5. So I'll be placing my tape on the shoulder line, and I'll come all the way to, this is 10.5. To get a straight line, I'll also place my tape to get 10.5. Then I'm going to mark, I'm going to square my line. So remember that this bust point is only, I have my bust point only at the front because of the bust. Okay, if you look at the back, you can see that there is no, bust point at the back. So I have it here because of the bust. So now on this point of the bust, I'm going to place my bust span. Now you can see that I have my bust span as 7 inches, and this bust span divided by 2, I have 3.5. On the bust point line, I'll be placing my tape at the center front. I'll be marking 3.5. I'll come down to the waistline for the front. I will mark 3.5, and with my ruler I'm going to get a straight line. That is my dart leg, and I'm going to place a dart of 1 inch, which is divided by 2, 0.5. I have 0.5 here. Okay, but if you are making something serious, you can go 1.25, 1.5, depending on the bust size. But for now, for this demonstration, we are taking 1 inch for the front. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to come down from the bust point. I'll be coming down with 1.5 inches. You can come back with 1 or 2. It also depends on the bust size. Okay, different people have different bust sizes. We have small bust sizes and large bust size, but for this measurement I'll be taking 1.5. So at this point of 1.5, this is 1.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to connect this line all the way to the 1 inch. I'll also do the same. You can see that I have a nice waist dart on my pattern. Now the next thing we are going to do is to put our bust dart. And in the placement of our bust dart, I want you to understand that our front and our back length are not the same. From our measurement parameter, you can see our back length is 16, front length is 18. Take away 16 from 18, you'll be left with 2 inches. So the 2 inches is going to be the width of my bust dart. So this is the 2 inches difference here. And I'm going to, first of all, there are 2 ways you can do this. I'm going to show you the first and the second way you can place, or even so many ways you can place your bust dart. But in this case, I'm showing you 2 methods. The very first method I'm going to show you is from the bust point line, you come down by 1 inch. And from that 1 inch, you now place this 2 inches difference. This is the 2 inches difference. And now remember that on this bust point we came down by 1.5. You also go in by 1.5 on this point of the bust line. If you come down by 1, you go this way 1. If you come down by 2, you go this way by 2, but you can't come more than 2 inches. Okay, so if you are taking one this way, 1, but because I'm taking 1.5, I have 1.5 inches on this way. So I'm going to place my measurements, my ruler, from this point. Watch what I'm doing to this point. I'll also place it to this point. You can see I have my bust dart now, and I'm going to divide my bust dart into 2, and I'm left with 1 inch this way, 1 inch that way. And at that point of 1 inch, I'm going to draw a straight line. Okay, so remember, we don't have our seam allowances on this pattern yet. Now coming over to the waist for the front, I have a waist of 35 inches. This 35 inches, as we did on the back, divided by 4, because I'm working on a quarter of my body. Then I'll be left with 8.75 or 8.75. I'm going to replace this dart of 1 inch, because by the time this dart is folded on your fabric, you will see that the waist length will be way shorter. So I will have to replace it so as to balance it up. So I will be replacing with 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to connect this 1 inch all the way to my bust. Can you see that? All right, so the second method of placing my bust dart is to take my 2 inches directly from the bust point. So assuming I'm using the second method, this line will serve as the first method. Assuming I'm using the second method, that will be my second method. And this one, let me highlight the first method so that it will be clear to you. I'm using a red marker. You can see that is the bust. Okay, so you can see that this is my waist line, that is for the front. And now I want to use a different marker to separate the front and the back bodies, because there are so many lines here. So I'm using this red marker to separate the front so that you don't get confused. Okay, so you can see my body's front and my body's back. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, I want to bring to your attention that the human back is not as straight as this line you are seeing. Please take note of it. If you look at the back, the human back, you can see at the point of the spinal cord, at that center back, you see that it's not straight. So if you have to cut out your pattern in this straight form, you are going to have lots of puffiness at your center back. So because of that, I'm going to eliminate that puffiness by contouring my line. So how do I contour? I do that by coming to the center line on the waist back, and I'll be going in with 0.5. So at this point of 0.5, I'm going to connect this 0.5. You can see how I'm connecting the 0.5. I'm connecting it all the way to my chest line. As you can see, I'm connecting it all the way to my chest line. So that is to say, I'm going to do away with this shaded part. I'm going to cut it off. But because you have already taken away 0.5, remember that we have 8.75 adding a 1 inch. So if you take away this, it means our measurement is going to start from this point. So you are going to take your measurement from here and place your waist divided by 4. Okay, that is 8.75 will fall here, and from that point you have your 1 inch which falls here, and then your 0.5, although it's eating into this point. Okay, so now we can now have our replacement at this point. You can see, so at this point you are seeing here, at this, I'm going to make a dot, okay, to make it different. So at this dotted line, you can see that is exactly what we replaced at this point. So we are going to cut out from this line. So lovelies, this is the basic bodice front and the basic bodice back. Okay, I'm going to refer you to my video on how to add your seam allowances, because on this body sloper there is no seam allowances. But going back to that video, I will be dropping the link on the description box below. Okay, please go ahead and also